This video is a part of a series I'm making that will effectively explain the process of min-maxing your Diablo Immortal character, specifically for PvE, but if you follow this guide, then you'll also be relatively strong in PvP. So in this video, I'll be going over the magic attributes for legendary items specifically. These attributes will also show up on some of your set items and some reforged bonuses, but I will make videos specifically for those in the coming days. And so in order to figure out which stats are the best, I've developed a formula to get a score for each attribute, then rank them accordingly, and selecting only the highest ranking attributes. But do not worry, if you do not like math, I'll be breaking this down Barney style, so everyone will be able to use this on their own. I also wrote this into a small Python code so that no one really has to do the math. You just click a button and boom, you're there. So this is how it works. We'll give each attribute, skill damage, crit hit, whatever, a value based on how many general types of monsters it affects, which is G. So like this is like normal monsters, elite monsters, bosses. And then based on the specific types. So that's S, which would be undead, beasts, demons, players. And then the places, which is P, that it takes effect, whether that be in the open world, in dungeons, or in PvP scenarios. And then finally a contingency factor, which is C. So this contingency factor is basically telling you how often it'll take effect. For example, critical hit chance is always effective, so its contingency factor is 1. But something that requires a secondary effect to take action, like damage to enemy suffering loss of control, will have a contingency factor of 2 or more, just based on how easy it is for you to put these loss of control effects onto your enemies. So the maximum value of each of these is 1. If it affects every monster in its S value, for example, it'll be 4 out of 4, or 1. But if it doesn't affect bosses, then it'll be 3 out of 4, which is 0.75. So let's plug in skill damage to the formula just so you can see how it works in real time. So skill damage is effective everywhere, on every type of monster, and on players, and has a contingency factor of 1 since it doesn't rely on anything else for you to be gaining the damage boost. So it's G is 1, S is 1, P is 1, and C is 1. And the maximum percent for this attribute is 4%. So you plug all of this into the formula and it gives you a score of 4. And also just to note, for the critical hit damage, I'm calculating the contingency based on you have 50% crit. So that's going to give it a contingency of 2. So if your crit is much higher when you're in dungeons or whatever from some passive skills from some of your legendary gems, then it's going to score higher than what I have shown on this list. And if you don't really have any critical hit chance, then that critical hit damage is going to be ranked lower. So with that being said, let's just get into the magic attributes for these legendary items. So starting with the main hand, the best attributes to have selected are critical hit chance, skill damage, attack speed, crit hit damage, and primary attack damage in that order. And so this is where you're going to kind of have to look at your own character's kit to see what makes sense for you. So for example, if your class or your build doesn't utilize primary attacks for a good portion of your damage, then you shouldn't use that attribute, as well as attack speed. And if it's very easy for you to apply loss of control onto your enemies, say for example, wizard, this is very easy to do, then that attribute is going to be ranked much higher for you. And if you're unsure, then following this exactly will still set you up and give you a great deal of a damage increase in all areas of the game. So now on to the offhand magic attributes. Again, some of them are the same as the main hand, but there are less good options. Crit hit chance is the best, followed by skill damage increase. Again, if you already have high crit chance, say from some of the skill passives or some of your legendary gems, then crit hit damage will be better than all of these. Now on to your shoulders and helm. These two slots have the same magic attributes, so their rankings are the same, and here are the best ones. Critical hit chance being the best, skill damage, attack speed, then crit hit damage. Now we'll get into the chest and leg slot attributes. They don't have the same list to choose from, but there aren't really any options that other than beneficial effect duration that are worth going for. Beneficial effect duration has a score of 6 on both of these items, and the next best values only have a score of 1, since they aren't super useful everywhere where they really only have an effect in 1 or 2 areas of the game. So the attributes that will be best for your chest or legs, of course, can be beneficial effect, then maximum life, increase, damage taken reduced, nearby enemy damage decreased, and block chance. And finally, I'll give you guys an example of how you can set up your attributes to be the best. So if you have high crit chance, this is what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to put crit hit damage on each main hand, each offhand, your helm and your shoulders. And then, of course, just select a beneficial effect duration on your legs and chest slot. Otherwise, if you don't have a high crit chance normally, then you're going to want to add that crit chance onto your gear. Then skill damage if you already have the crit chance on some of the items. And then similarly to the previous example, beneficial effect duration is the way to go onto your legs and chest. And finally, say for these wizards out here who have an easy time applying loss of control to enemies, then you can put that attribute on the gear. So adding that damage done to enemies for loss of control is going to be much better than a skill damage attribute or primary attack attribute or attack speed. You can still do the crit hit chance, but keep in mind that the damage to enemies suffering loss of control will be very good, especially if you can get it on your reforges and everything as well. Thank you all for watching. Stay tuned for more of these min-max videos. We'll be making a video on set items, more of the reforge bonuses, and some of the gems as well in the coming future. Peace.